Uh, Jason, run us through, if you don't mind, actually validating a universal ad ID.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we're very excited, like Raymond mentioned, to this is our official release of the API for validation of creative assets for Ad ID too. So very, very excited about it. Um, just to give a little more background, Ad ID has been around since 2002. So we've been at this for quite a while, and we've had different kind of iterations of how we do this. So like how to validate is one critical piece of for our ecosystem partners to be able to determine whether something's valid or not, getting additional information in the hands of advertisers and publishers, ad tech partners too is really critical too. So we wanted to come up and implement the specification. So we were, as Raymond mentioned, very involved in the specification of the validation API along with Clearcast and ARPP too. And that was, from learning and trying to make this as simple as possible because it's already complex from an ecosystem standpoint too. So really trying to do that. And so this is really API. Tried to make this as least nerdy as possible too, but really getting to see we have some really simple use cases that we're going to market with right out of the gate too. One of those is determining whether a creative is valid, like an ad ID. So for an ad ID in the US, it's 12 characters. Alphanumeric values consists of a prefix and then some other numbers that identify that code too. So one of the ways we did it is we've implemented a RESTful based web API. It's pretty much the most straightforward type of API that you can create, which is what the specification called out to. So not to get too in the weeds in this, and we'll share an API implementation guide after this too with y'all too. But part of this is trying to make the calls to determine whether an ad ID is valid or not is as straightforward as this line of code. And the last 12 characters of this URL is the actual code. Too, we have some other structure in here depending on if we're calling our friends at Clearcast and ARPP too. So being able to distinguish that is really important for this to be able to standardize. So part of this is being able to make these calls in HTTP, like when you're going to your web browser, when you're looking at just simple web pages, say you're on Chrome or Firefox, there's different ways that you can call information to get data back. This particular way is called a head call too. It's really simple, and we're really looking for whether something exists or not too. So I'm going to go ahead and execute this. This is Postman, but it works in really any other type of HTTP client like curl, but a bunch of other tools support this too. So we tried to make it as simple as possible. For this particular call, there's no authentication at all, so you can just freely call it. There's no credentials that you have to provide either too. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. So you can see there's nothing coming back from the response except a 204, and that means that this particular code exists within our demo sandbox environment too. So really simple, like yes, no condition here too. So I'm going to move to an invalid request. So you can just see instead of a valid one, I just called it BADD too. So we're going to go ahead and execute this. And we have a 404 not found, just meaning we can't find it. And that's really our base use case. If our clients come in, our users, say a publisher wants to come in and just decide, hey, is a code valid or not? I got this through the VAST tag or through some other mechanism. I want to hit up my registry and determine whether that's true or not too. And just really simple, again, no authentication required. Again, this will be available with no registration too, and that'll be in the tech tools portal too. There'll be links to all of this that I'm showing you too. So, and then the meat of it too is we have another mechanism that the spec calls for is actually returning metadata, right? Like being able to decision on codes, like Raymond mentioned that at the beginning of the webinar, of being able to get information about like the product, the advertiser, brand, like what does this spot have in it too? So I just ran it too, so we can execute it. And there's 7 pieces of information talking about the creative type, whether we're talking about a video, who's the owner, what the product is, it in English, Spanish, you name it, whatever's been registered by usually the advertiser that registers their creative. And this data flows in real time. So when a creative is registered within the Ad ID platform, usually through the UI, or we also have another API that allows for that, allows this data to come in immediately. So there's no waiting. There's no waiting for like feeds coming in or anything like that. It's on demand in the API in a standardized way, which is what ACIF helps enable us to do. A lot of this we've had in the past over like the last 23 years too. But this is a more standardized way for us to provide that information. And to note on this, for any sort of metadata that Ad ID provides in their ACIF validator implementation, we require authentication. We use an OAuth 2 token, which is very standard. If you called into Google APIs, it's a really standardized way. So we do require registration for the usage of this API, just from a trackability standpoint. With the data being provided, we want to ensure the use case is valid too. So, but really straightforward, very quick API, hopefully simpler, more straightforward than what we had with our other validation API in the way it's being called to. So really, really excited about it. Please reach out to us if you're interested in learning more. Again, we'll provide more documentation and enhancements too. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the webinar about the different levels, but I'm showing you the 2 primary levels of ways to call this API too.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jason.